2010 budget guarantee resolution.
You've got a sheet that I laid in front of you, the budget guarantee resolution, in the board packet. And some notes for the SAC district. New money without the budget guarantee to the SAC school district is a negative $30,479. And what that means is that without budget guarantee, because of declining enrollment, there would be a negative number. State law gives us permission to approve board approval for 101% guarantee, so you can actually increase your district costs in the general fund by 1%. So 100%, 1% guarantee on the current budget would be that $55,718. So if you take that and net it out between that negative number, then the actual new money with the guarantee is $25,239. And I recommend that the board pass the resolution as stated.
Okay, pass it last minute.
Yep.
Without the mention of the levy?
This is different.
Okay.
This is just budget guarantee, 101% budget guarantee.
That money actually comes from taxes. right?
Taxes, yep. And it's built into the budget that you have in front of you, those two budgets.
This?
Just too many pages, something, right?
Yeah.
You need like a secretary, or a paper secretary.
Just the public file.
I move to approve the budget guarantee resolution for the fiscal year 2009-2010.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the budget guarantee resolution for fiscal year 09-10. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Further discussion on the 2010 budget.
At the last joint board meeting, we met in closed session for negotiation strategy, and each board had a couple of board members that volunteered to come in and take a look at the budget. As we were working on developing it, and Doug and Brent were the two that came in to look it over. You've got two budgets in front of you. The budget that was published in the paper is the highest of the two. You can't publish a budget and then decide to have a higher tax rate than what the published budget was. The budget that was published has a proposed tax rate of $12.65 per $1,000 of taxable valuation. And remember, that changes once it gets to the Department of Management, and they get through everyone in the state of Iowa, and FBRC does all of their magic with it. So it's sometimes a little bit less, sometimes just a little bit higher. It's just a few cents different, but that's not under our control. And then they'll certify that budget for us and give us the exact number from the Department of Management. But what we'll submit will be $12.65 unless the board takes it. And that budget includes cash reserve levy of $50,000. And then that second budget that you have in your packet would be not taxing for that cash reserve levy, and the tax rate at that time then would be $12.19. Comments by Doug or by Brent about?
I guess the comment was, for me, at that meeting, Dr. Johnson, or John Pratt, and was kind of concerned about levying for cash right now due to the economy and taxpayers and everybody in general being strapped for cash. I don't know if this is the greatest time in the world to ask for $50,000 more from the local taxpayers, so that's why I asked him to present the new budget without the cash reserve. I don't remember ever levying for cash reserve being on the board. That doesn't mean that we haven't done it before. But I don't remember specifically saying we need to upgrade our cash, at least in the last 4 or 5 years. Do you know that, Frank?
I know it's been on there before. I don't remember the last time it was on there.
And I guess going along with that, unless Frank can jump in here, but I mean, our cash right now seems to be enough that it would get us through the next year or so, or whatever. I don't foresee a cash poor situation happening in the district, so. That's why I asked to show two budgets, one with taking the $50,000 out and the other one is going to be already published, so. It's up to the board to decide what else they want to do, or which one they like.
I did some research on the levies in the area, and we're pretty low compared to everybody else. And I don't think, I'm used to working with budgets that have a cash reserve, and account even levies and things like that, so I don't have a problem with the additional 50,000.
So the 1265 levy rate too would be acceptable.
Well, the thing to remember is we can continue to, our cash reserve to continue to grow. And if we can only spend so much money we levy for, it's just gonna continue to grow because we can't spend it anyway, right?
That would be correct. Right now, we don't have, we have authority to spend,
Right.
and not quite the same amount of cash.
We're actually,
But
yeah.
we've got more cash than.
No, we have less cash.
We have less cash than we have authority to spend.
So this would actually put those numbers closer together.
That's what we're looking at that day, is trying to
Yes.
get those numbers closer.
A little bit closer to each other. Yeah.
And
the
the
other-
other question, Brett, the last time we levied for cash reserve was the 03-04 budget.
Okay.
And that year it was, $40,000.
I guess another question I might have is, do we have any idea, or is there a possibility that we may have some reductions next year from the state? That, I mean, is this, if we have a reduction, can we use this cash reserve for some of the reductions that we may have from the state on some of the
Actually,
money
the
they give us?
$50,000 that's inserted here is about what the percent and a half cut, across the board cut was this year. So basically, that would restore that percent and a half cut. Now, the governor's got I think it's about $330 million in education money that he makes decisions about, and considerations that he's thinking about, or considerations he has regarding that money, are restoring the cut. It is to backfill or to restore the full funding at 4% allowable growth. And there's a number of ways that can flow back into the schools. And K-12 schools at this point have been held fairly harmless from other budget cuts that have taken place in the last 2 or 3 weeks as he's discussed parts of his budget. The second part of that stimulus money is really to the Department of Education, and it's for programs, and I can talk to you about that later in another part of the meeting. But one of the things Well Lakeview Auburn talked about, just as was, they asked the very same question. So we're asking for that across the board cut. What happens if we give that's restored? And John and I both just recommended that that's how it would be. We'd be 50,000 up in cash. And it would be tax dollars that we'd be asking for. The difference at Well Lakeview Auburn between spending authority and their actual cash in the bank is a little bit different than it is here. There's about $125,000 less. They taxed for more last night for cash reserve than FACT's looking at, but that was just their personal decision to do. They wanted to narrow that gap between spending authority and cash in the bank. And it had been very high. But we'd gone through a time at Well Lakeview Auburn where we'd done a lot of staff cuts as well. And so it was high. And now we've gone 3 years with no staff cuts, and so the cash reserve is headed downhill again. So now we're back into that cut mode. So.
The other thing that I guess I don't really know if I can put this exactly in words, but the other thing that this budget shows, either one of them, goes back with the, what do we call it, where that we changed what we levied for now, the 123,000, what is it?
The at-risk allowable growth.
At-risk allowable growth. That money's gonna be dumped into our general fund
Yes.
when we collect it, which will improve our cash situation comparatively versus the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, because we've never actually levied. So that's going to help that. Also, we took the dollar PEPAL out, so the PEPAL fund will not grow as much, but I don't think that's a huge deal because of the silo tax has been more than supplementing what any tax dollars we've levied for.